knew it all along, you son of a and I'm finna beat your Don't play with me. I seen that in my own eyes, and I'm finna dust ass. And I mean that, you been lying, ho. You a liar. And I'm finna beat you now, bitch. Don't ever hang up when I'm yelling. Don't ever hang up. Don't ever hang up my face.
She ain't finna answer me.
She know.
Exclusive. Look closely. For the first time, we're seeing video of a woman retrieving a gun moments before she murdered her wife.
Cornisha Butler wasn't supposed to die at 29. She was supposed to be decorating for Thanksgiving, watching her kids open presents at Christmas, growing old in the house she'd fought so hard to buy. But before we get to November 16th, 2022, before the gunshots, before the 911 calls, before a toddler witnessed something no child should ever see, you need to know who Cornisha really was. Not the victim in the headlines, not the statistic in a domestic violence report. The woman, the mother, the fighter who refused to stay down no matter how many times life knocked her flat. Memphis, Tennessee. That's where Cornisha's story starts. She became a mother young before most of her friends had even graduated high school. 3 daughters, 1 son, 4 little humans depending on her for everything. No rich parents to fall back on. No college fund, no trust fund, just her, 4 kids, and a mountain of responsibility most adults twice her age couldn't handle. But Cornisha didn't crumble. She got to work. While other women her age were figuring out sorority life and spring break trips, Cornisha was figuring out how to stretch a paycheck and keep the lights on. She didn't complain about it. Didn't post sob stories on social media asking for sympathy. She just handled it. Because that's what mothers do when no one else is coming to save them. Cornisha worked 2 jobs, not because she wanted to impress anyone, because she had to. During the day, she was a registered tax preparer. She understood numbers, understood systems, understood how to help families navigate the paperwork that keeps poor people trapped. At night, she transformed into something else entirely. Licensed esthetician, nails, lashes, facials, skincare. Women sat in her chair looking tired and left looking like they could conquer the world. Cornisha had a gift for that, making people feel seen. Her schedule stayed packed. Her reputation grew. And slowly, month by month, paycheck by paycheck, she built something her kids could depend on. Stability. Not wealth, not luxury. Just the kind of foundation that meant her children wouldn't grow up the way she did, always worried, always uncertain, always one crisis away from losing everything. But Cornisha wanted more than stability. She wanted proof. Proof that a single mother from Memphis with no backup plan could still make it. Proof that hard work actually pays off. Proof that her kids could look at her and believe anything was possible. So in 2020, while the world was falling apart, Cornisha made a bet on herself. She packed up her 4 kids and moved to Atlanta, Georgia. New city, new opportunities, new life, no family nearby to help with babysitting, no friends to crash with if things went wrong. Just faith and a refusal to fail. And somehow, against every odd, she pulled it off. Within 2 years, Cornisha Butler bought a house. Not a rental, not a cramped apartment with paper-thin walls. A 5-bedroom home in South Fulton with a yard big enough for her kids to run around in. She posted about it on Facebook the day she got the keys. Been in Atlanta going on 2 years. My kids been through hell and back with me. It's only right I give them a life I never had. That house meant everything. It meant her daughters wouldn't share a bedroom until they were teenagers. It meant her son had space to grow. It meant Cornisha had finally broken the cycle. She filled that house with life, birthday parties, family dinners, late-night conversations with friends who'd become family. Her social media lit up with photos of her smiling in front of her new home, posing next to her pink Mercedes-Benz, a car she'd saved for years to afford, hosting cookouts in the backyard she now owned. To anyone watching, Cornisha Butler was winning. And for a while, she was. Ask anyone who knew Cornisha, and they'll tell you the same thing. She had this energy, the kind that filled a room the second she walked in, loud laugh, warm smile, the type of woman who remembered your birthday and checked on you when you went quiet. Her kids adored her, not in the way kids love their parents because they have to, but in the way kids love their parents when they actually show up. Cornisha showed up to school events, to late-night talks about problems only a mom can solve, to every moment that mattered. Her friends depended on her. Her clients trusted her. Her family called her the glue that held everyone together. From the outside, Cornisha had figured it out. But what people didn't see, what Cornisha hid behind the Instagram posts and the Sunday dinners, was the person slowly tightening a noose around her life. That's when Cornisha met Shakia Perkins. And at first, it seemed like the missing piece. Someone who paid attention. Someone who wanted to build something together. someone who showed up when things got hard and stayed. Shakia was affectionate, present, invested. Within months, they were living together, blending lives, sharing space, playing house. To the outside world, they looked happy, but affection can become interrogation if you're not careful. Presence can become surveillance, and investment can become ownership. Somewhere along the way, Shakia stopped asking, "How was your day?" and started demanding, "Where were you?" She questioned Cornisha's friendships, her phone, her schedule, her every move. What looked like love from the outside felt like a leash from the inside. And Cornisha, she tried to make it work. Because when you're raising 4 kids and finally building the life you dreamed of, you don't just walk away at the first sign of trouble. You push through. You tell yourself every relationship has rough patches. You convince yourself things will get better. Cornisha convinced herself for 5 years. By 2021, people who loved Cornisha started noticing changes. She wasn't showing up to events she used to love, wasn't answering calls as quickly, wasn't posting on social media as much. When friends asked if she was okay, she'd smile and say she was just busy. Work, kids, life. But the truth? Cornisha was exhausted. Not from the 2 jobs, not from raising 4 kids alone, from managing Shakia's moods, Shakia's jealousy, Shakia's need to control every aspect of her world. The woman who used to light up rooms had started dimming, and the people who loved her could feel it. But what could they do? Cornisha wasn't asking for help, wasn't saying the words, "I'm scared" or "I need out." She was just fading. Here's the part that'll haunt you. While Cornisha was trying to hold her life together, Shakia was documenting it, not like a partner. Like a predator. She kept track of Cornisha's routines, what time she dropped the kids at school, where she got her morning coffee, what gym she went to, what routes she drove home. Shakia wasn't just watching, she was mapping, building a file on the woman she claimed to love. And when police eventually searched Shakia's car after the murder, they'd find that file, handwritten, detailed, obsessive, a manual for how to trap someone who's trying to escape. But in 2016, Cornisha didn't see it coming. She thought she'd found love. What she'd actually found was someone who believed love meant possession, and possession meant Cornisha didn't get to leave. By September 2021, Shakia would prove just how far she was willing to go to keep that possession. A car would be rammed off the road, 2 vehicles would burn in a driveway. A restraining order would be filed, and Cornisha would call the police 13 times begging for protection. 13 times. And 13 times the system would say, "We'll handle it." But they never did. Cornisha Butler did everything right. She worked 2 jobs, bought a house, raised 4 kids, filed police reports, got a restraining order. She followed every rule society tells victims to follow. And she still ended up dead on her living room floor while her 2-year-old watched. If you're watching this without subscribing, you're betting you'll never need to know the warning signs that could have saved her. You're assuming the people you report will actually be stopped. Cornisha assumed that too. Hit that subscribe button, or don't. But when someone you love ends up in a situation like this, you'll wish you'd been paying attention. Here's what I want you to do. Go to the comments right now and answer this. If someone breaks up with you and you can't let them go, is that love or is that ownership? I'm reading every single comment, and I guarantee this section is about to explode. Let's talk about it. Welcome to Hot True Crime Stories. Kindly support us by subscribing to this channel and turn on the notification bell icon so you won't miss out on our most important true crime documentary. September 13th, 2021. Cornisha is driving home from work. Normal Tuesday. Normal route. Nothing out of the ordinary. Until she checks her rearview mirror. There's a car behind her. Not just following her, chasing her. And she recognizes it immediately. Shakia. Before Cornisha can process what's happening, the car accelerates, slams into her driver's side, then the passenger side. Shakia isn't trying to scare her. She's trying to force her off the road. Cornisha grips the steering wheel, heart pounding, adrenaline flooding her system. She manages to stay on the road barely and makes it to safety. Her car is damaged on both sides. Her hands are shaking so hard she can barely hold her phone, but she's alive. Cornisha pulls into a parking lot and immediately texts her friend. "Shakia just tried to run me off the road." Her friend responds within seconds. "What do you mean? She tried to hurt herself or tried to run you off?" Cornisha types back fast. "Yes, she hit my car both ways." Read that again, both ways. This wasn't road rage, this wasn't an accident. This was attempted murder with a vehicle. Shakia had followed Cornisha, waited for the right moment, and deliberately tried to crash her car, potentially killing her. And this was just the beginning. September 25th, 2021. 12 days after the car ramming incident, Cornisha is at home with her kids when her phone rings. It's a neighbor, frantic, yelling. "Your driveway is on fire." Cornisha runs outside and sees it. Flames. Massive, roaring flames consuming her Jeep Wrangler. The heat is so intense it's already spreading to the car parked next to it. Her pink Mercedes-Benz. The car she'd worked years to afford, The car she posted about with pride, the car that represented everything she'd sacrificed to build this life. Fire department shows up within minutes, but it's too late. Both vehicles are destroyed, burned down to the frame. The fire investigators take one look at the scene and label it immediately. Arson, intentional, deliberate, calculated, and everyone knows who did it. Shakia is arrested, charged with 4 felonies, property destruction, arson, reckless endangerment. The evidence is overwhelming. She's taken into custody, booked, and held. Finally, Cornisha can breathe. Finally, there's consequences. Finally, she's safe. Except she's not, because 8 days later, Shakia walks out of jail. Bond granted, 8 days. That's how long the system kept a woman who tried to run someone off the road and then burned 2 cars in retaliation. 8 days. And then she was free to do it again. Cornisha knows she needs protection. She files for a restraining order, goes to court, tells the judge everything. The car ramming, the arson, the constant harassment. The judge grants the order. 1 full year of legal protection. Shakia is ordered to stay away from Cornisha. No contact, no showing up at her house. No threats. On paper, Cornisha is finally protected. But here's the thing about restraining orders. They only work if the person you're trying to avoid actually cares about consequences. And Shakia? She didn't care. Because by February 2022, just a few months later, Shakia posted a photo on Facebook of her and Cornisha together, smiling. Caption, Happy Valentine's Day to my sweet and sour wife. 6 years of toxic love I wouldn't do with no one else but you. Toxic love. She said it out loud, and nobody stopped her. Here's what people don't understand about domestic violence. It's not linear. It's a cycle. Tension builds. Explosion happens. Apologies follow. Honeymoon phase begins. Then it starts all over again. Cornisha knew the relationship was dangerous. She'd filed the restraining order. She'd reported the arson. She'd told her friends what was happening. But Shakia kept pulling her back in, apologizing, promising to change, crying about how much she loved her. And Cornisha, exhausted, overwhelmed, trying to raise 4 kids and keep her life together, let her back in. Not because she was weak, not because she was stupid, but because leaving an abuser is the most dangerous thing a victim can do. And Cornisha knew that. She'd already seen what Shakia was capable of when she tried to leave. So she stayed, hoping it would get better, hoping Shakia would finally keep her promises, hoping she could survive long enough to figure out an exit plan that wouldn't get her killed. Summer 2022. Cornisha makes a decision. She's done. Not the kind of done where she takes Shakia back 3 weeks later. The kind of done where she buys a new house, moves her kids in, and starts posting about her fresh start. She's glowing again, smiling in photos, posting about Thanksgiving plans, talking about the future. For the first time in 6 years, Cornisha feels free. She's planning to host Thanksgiving at her new house, first time ever, with all 4 kids in a space that's truly hers. She's decorating, shopping for groceries, making lists. Life is finally moving forward. But Shakia is watching, and she's not okay with Cornisha being happy without her. Because for Shakia, love isn't about wanting someone to be happy, it's about control. And if she can't control Cornisha, then nobody gets to have her. October 2022, 1 month before the murder, Shakia starts sending text messages. Not apologies, not pleased to get back together. Threats. Okay, pay your insurance. My mind is made up. You will be dead soon, so keep talking. Read that again. You will be dead soon. Not I'm upset. Not I miss you. A direct death threat. But Shakia doesn't stop there. I'm going for first degree, not second. And I stamp that. She's not just threatening to kill Cornisha. She's specifying the charge. First degree murder. Premeditated. Planned. Intentional. She's literally telling Cornisha exactly how the police will classify her death. And then she sends one more. Yeah, it's all fun and jokes until you're scared for your life. Go show the police these messages. So Cornisha does. She screenshots every single message, goes to the police station, hands them the evidence, a written confession of intent to commit murder, and the police arrest Shakia. Again, here's where it gets infuriating. Shakia is arrested for making terroristic threats. The evidence is undeniable. She literally confessed in writing. The DA's office reviews the case. They oppose bond. They tell the judge, this woman is dangerous. She has a history of violence. She just threatened to commit first-degree murder. Do not let her out. The judge has everything needed to keep Shakia locked up. The car ramming incident, the arson, the restraining order violations, the written death threats, a clear pattern of escalation, a victim begging for protection, a prosecutor warning that someone is going to die if this woman walks free. And the judge lets her out anyway. Bond granted, again, 13 times. That's how many times Cornisha called police for help. 13 reports, 4 arrests, 1 restraining order, and the system kept letting Shakia walk free. November 2022, Cornisha is preparing for Thanksgiving. She's bought a turkey, decorated the house, set up the dining room table for her kids. This is supposed to be a celebration, her first holiday in the house she worked so hard to buy. Her first Thanksgiving as a truly independent woman, free from Shakia, free from the violence, free from the fear. Except she's not free, because Shakia is still out there, still watching, still planning. And on November 16th, 2022, she's going to show up at Cornisha's door one last time, with a gun. She texted a murder confession. Cornisha screenshotted it, showed the police. They arrested Shakia, and then they let her go. If you think a restraining order is going to protect you when someone decides they'd rather see you dead than see you happy, you're wrong. Cornisha learned that the hard way. If you're still not subscribed, you're assuming the system will protect you better than it protected her. Spoiler, it won't. Hit subscribe. Because what happens next is going to show you exactly how the system fails when it matters most. Now drop a comment and tell me, should someone who sends a text message threatening to commit first-degree murder be allowed to walk free on bond, or should that be an automatic hold until trial? Because judges clearly disagree with what common sense says. Let's hear your take. November 16th, 2022, Wednesday morning, Cornisha wakes up in her 5-bedroom home, the house she bought with her own money, the house that proved she'd made it. Her 3 daughters are getting ready for school, backpacks, breakfast, the usual chaos of a morning with 4 kids. Her 2-year-old son stays home with her, too young for school, still in that phase where he follows her everywhere. Her mother is visiting. But here's the heartbreaking part. Cornisha's mother is recovering from a stroke. She's partially paralyzed. She can watch. She can witness. But when danger comes, she can't move fast enough to help. Cornisha doesn't know it yet, but her mother is about to watch her daughter die, and there's nothing she'll be able to do to stop it. The house smells like cinnamon and pine. Cornisha spent the previous weekend decorating for Thanksgiving. Fall wreaths on the doors, candles on the tables, warm lights strung across the living room. This is her first holiday in this house. The first time she's hosting Thanksgiving for her kids in a space that's truly hers. Not a rental, not someone else's property. Hers. She's been planning the menu for weeks. Turkey, dressing, mac and cheese, sweet potato pie, all the dishes her kids love, all the traditions she wants them to remember. She posts about it on social media, excited, hopeful, finally at peace. For the first time in years, Cornisha Butler feels free. But freedom, for her, has an expiration date, and it's today, afternoon. Cornisha hears a knock at the door. She's not expecting anyone. Her daughters are still at school. Her son is napping. Her mother is resting in the guest room. She opens the door, and there stands Shakia Perkins, the woman she left, the woman who burned her cars, the woman who threatened to kill her in writing, the woman who is legally prohibited from being anywhere near her. Restraining order still active. Bond conditions explicitly state no contact. But none of that matters to Shakia, because she's not here to apologize. She's not here to beg for another chance. She's here to make good on the promise she made in those text messages. You will be dead soon. The conversation starts heated, voices raised, old wounds reopened. Cornisha tells her to leave. Shakia refuses. The argument escalates fast, 6 years of toxicity boiling over in minutes. Cornisha's 2-year-old son wakes up from his nap, confused by the yelling. He walks into the living room, stands near his mother, doesn't understand what's happening but knows something is wrong. Cornisha is trying to get Shakia out of her house without making things worse, trying to protect her son from witnessing this, trying to stay calm even though her heart is racing. But Shakia isn't interested in talking anymore. Mid-argument, she turns around, walks toward the door, and for a split second, Cornisha thinks it's over, thinks Shakia is finally leaving. But she's not leaving. She's going to her car. Shakia walks out to her vehicle. Cornisha watches from the doorway, confused. Is she leaving? Is she getting something? Then Shakia opens the car door, reaches inside, and pulls out a 90mm handgun. That moment, that walk from the house to the car and back, is what separates murder from manslaughter. That's premeditation. That's the moment Shakia made a choice. She wasn't holding a weapon during the argument and things got out of hand. She left, retrieved a gun, came back, with intent. Cornisha sees the gun. Her blood goes cold. Her son is standing right there. Her mother is in the next room, unable to move, unable to help. And Shakia is walking back toward her, weapon in hand, finger near the trigger. What happens next takes less than 30 seconds, but it destroys 4 children's lives forever. Shakia raises the gun. Cornisha begs. We don't know exactly what she said in those final moments, but we know she was a mother, and mothers don't go quietly when their babies are watching. She's pleading for her life, for her son, for a chance to see her daughters come home from school. Shakia doesn't care. She pulls the trigger. Once, twice. Cornisha is hit in the face. She collapses onto the living room floor. Blood pools beneath her. The Thanksgiving decorations she hung with pride still glow on the walls around her. Her 2-year-old son stands frozen, too young to understand what death means. but old enough to remember this moment for the rest of his life. Cornisha's mother hears the gunshots from the guest room. She tries to move, tries to get to her daughter, but the stroke has left her too weak. She's trapped in her own body, forced to listen, forced to wait, forced to know her daughter is dying and she can't do anything to save her. Shakia doesn't run immediately. She stands there, gun still in her hand, looking at what she's done. Then she turns, walks out the door, gets in her car, and drives away. Leaves Cornisha bleeding out on the floor. Leaves a toddler standing next to his mother's body. Leaves a grandmother trapped in a back room, helpless and horrified. And she doesn't call 911. Doesn't try to help. Just leaves. A neighbor hears the gunshots. Calls 911 at 6:09 p.m. Dispatch sends units immediately, shots fired, possible victim down. Patrol cars flood the neighborhood within minutes. Sirens screaming, lights flashing, families getting ready for dinner step outside to see what's happening. Officers arrive at Cornisha's house. Front door is still open. A neighbor is standing outside, terrified, pointing toward the entrance. Someone's been shot. I heard it. There's a kid in there. Police rush inside, and the scene they find will haunt them. Cornisha Butler, 29 years old, mother of 4, lying on her living room floor in a pool of blood. Thanksgiving decorations on the walls, a toddler standing a few feet away, silent, in shock. Paramedics arrive, start CPR immediately, but the wounds are catastrophic. She's already gone. Officers move quickly to secure the scene. One of them picks up Cornisha's 2-year-old son. The child doesn't cry, doesn't scream, just stares. Too young to process what he just witnessed, but old enough that it's burned into his memory forever. Cornisha's mother is brought out of the guest room. She's sobbing, shaking, telling officers between gaspes, "That was her wife, Shakia. She killed my baby. She killed my baby." And then at 3:15 p.m., the school buses drop off Cornisha's 3 daughters. They walk up to their house expecting to see their mom. Instead, they see police tape, ambulances, officers standing in their driveway, and they know. Before anyone says a word, they know their mother is gone. Detectives immediately issue an alert for Shakia Perkins, armed and dangerous, suspected of homicide. Her vehicle description is broadcast across Fulton County. Officers check known addresses, friends, family, previous residences, and then they track her phone. Cell tower data shows her location. She's at her sister's apartment, across town, 15 minutes from the crime scene. By 10:30 p.m., 4 hours after the murder, South Fulton police have the building surrounded. Tactical unit moves in. They're expecting resistance. This is a woman who just shot someone in the face in front of a toddler. She's armed, she's violent, she's unpredictable. But when they make contact, Shakia doesn't fight, doesn't try to run. She opens the door, hands in the air, calm, almost too calm. Like she's been waiting for them. Police take Shakia into custody without incident. She's read her rights, handcuffed, placed in the back of a patrol car. But before they transport her, detectives search her vehicle. And what they find confirms everything. The 9mm handgun, still loaded. Ballistics will later match it to the shell casings found at Cornisha's house. But that's not all. Inside the car, they find a notebook, handwritten, pages and pages of notes. Cornisha's daily schedule, what time she drops her kids at school, where she gets coffee, what gym she goes to, what routes she drives. Every detail of her life documented, tracked, studied. This wasn't a crime of passion. This was a hunt. Shakia had been planning this for months, maybe longer, and she wrote it all down. In the back of the patrol car, body camera footage captures Shakia talking to herself, muttering under her breath, "I had no choice. She made me do this. I couldn't let her be happy without me." She's not confessing. She's justifying. In her mind, this wasn't murder. This was ownership. Cornisha belonged to her. And if Shakia couldn't have her, nobody could. That's not love. That's possession. And on November 16th, 2022, possession turned into execution. Back at Cornisha's house, the coroner arrives. Crime scene investigators photograph everything. The blood on the floor, the Thanksgiving decorations, the toys scattered near the body. Cornisha is pronounced dead at the scene. Cause of death, multiple gunshot wounds. Manner of death, homicide. Her body is covered with a sheet and removed hours later. Her children don't get to say goodbye. Her mother collapses when they officially confirm what she already knew. And somewhere in that house, still glowing on the walls, are the fall decorations Cornisha hung just days earlier. Preparing for a holiday she'll never see. A celebration that will never happen. A future that died with her on that living room floor. A 2-year-old watched his mother get murdered. He's 5 now, in therapy. Every loud noise takes him back to that moment. Every argument he overhears makes him freeze. He'll carry that memory for the rest of his life. If you have kids, if you have nieces, nephews, anyone you'd protect with your life, you owe it to them to understand how these situations unfold. Because Cornisha called for help 13 times, and the system failed her 13 times. If you're still not subscribed, You're betting that won't happen to someone you love. Hit the button, or don't, but when it does happen, you'll wish you'd been paying attention. Here's what I need you to answer in the comments. If someone violates a restraining order and shows up at your house, should you have the legal right to defend yourself with lethal force before they pull a weapon? Or do you wait until they're armed and it's already too late? Drop your answer below. Because the law says one thing, but survival says another. Shakia Perkins is formally charged 3 days after the murder. Fulton County Courthouse. The charges read like a nightmare. First-degree murder, possession of a firearm during commission of a felony, cruelty to children. That last one is critical. Because Shakia didn't just kill Cornisha. She forced a 2-year-old to watch. In the eyes of the law, that's child abuse, psychological torture, a separate crime with its own consequences. Shakia is held without bond this time. Finally, after 4 previous arrests where she walked free within days, the system decides she's too dangerous to release. But here's the sick irony. They only made that decision after Cornisha was already dead. News of the murder spreads fast. Local Atlanta stations pick it up first, then it goes national. Social media explodes. Cornisha's story resonates because it's not unique, it's tragically common. Another woman dead, another abuser who was arrested multiple times and kept walking free, another restraining order that meant nothing. Community activists organized vigils outside Cornisha's home. Candles, flowers, balloons released into the sky. Her face is everywhere, smiling in photos with her kids, posing in front of her dream house, living the life she fought so hard to build. And people are angry, not just at Shakia, at the system that let this happen, at the judges who granted bond, at the courts that treated escalating violence like paperwork instead of a death sentence waiting to happen. Months pass. The trial date is set. Shakia's defense team knows they're facing an uphill battle. The evidence is overwhelming. Text messages confessing intent to commit murder. A notebook documenting the victim's every move. The gun recovered from her car matching the ballistics. A toddler witness. Security footage. Cell tower data placing her at the scene. There's no "she didn't do it" defense here, so they pivot. The strategy becomes mitigation. They paint Shakia as a woman suffering from severe mental health issues. Someone who spiraled out of control. Someone who couldn't handle the end of a toxic relationship. They describe the shooting as a moment of emotional instability, not premeditated murder. They claim she snapped, that this was a tragic explosion of pain, not a calculated execution. But there's one problem with that defense, the notebook. The prosecution doesn't need to work hard. The evidence speaks for itself. They present a timeline. September 2021, car ramming incident. September 2021, arson, 2 vehicles destroyed. October 2022, text messages threatening first-degree murder. November 16th, 2022, the murder. Each incident is more violent than the last. Classic escalation pattern. Then they bring in the forensics. Ballistics expert confirms the 9mm recovered from Shakia's car fired the rounds that killed Cornisha. Cell phone data confirms Shakia was at the scene at the time of the shooting. Medical examiner describes the wounds, close range, multiple shots, fatal trauma to the face. But the most devastating piece of evidence? The notebook. The prosecutor holds it up in court, flips through pages filled with Cornisha's schedule, her routines, her patterns, her movements. This, the prosecutor says, is not a woman who snapped. This is a woman who studied her victim, tracked her, hunted her, and when the moment came, executed her. The jury is silent. Then the prosecution plays their ace, the text messages, projected on a screen in front of the jury. "You will be dead soon. I'm going for first degree, not second. Go show the police these messages." The prosecutor lets them sit there, doesn't say anything for 5 full seconds, just lets the jury read them, again and again. Then he speaks. "She told us exactly what she was going to do. She warned the victim. She dared her to go to the police. And when Cornisha did exactly that, when she showed these messages to law enforcement and got Shakia arrested, Shakia was released on bond. And 1 month later, she made good on her promise." He pauses. "This isn't a tragedy. This is a murder that was announced in advance. And nobody stopped it." Then comes the most emotional part of the trial. Victim impact statements. Cornisha's family takes the stand. Her sister goes first, voice shaking. She talks about the phone call she got that night, how she screamed, how she couldn't breathe, how she had to tell Cornisha's kids that their mother wasn't coming home. She reads a message she posted on Facebook the day Cornisha died. "My baby, my sister, my girl. I've been trying to process this all day and I can't. Nisha, I have no words. My heart is hurting so bad. We got so close after Dad left us. We promised we'd never go a morning without talking. And now you're gone." She breaks down, can't finish. Then Cornisha's brother speaks. He's barely holding it together. "She was my twin, my rib, my other half. I was supposed to protect her. She told me she'd always have my back. And now I'm standing here, and she's gone, and I couldn't save her." The courtroom is silent except for the sound of people crying. But the most devastating moment? When the advocate reads a statement on behalf of Cornisha's oldest daughter. She's 16 now, old enough to understand everything that happened. Old enough to testify if she wanted to, but she can't. Because standing in a courtroom and talking about the night her mother was murdered is too much? So someone reads it for her. I came home from school that day expecting to see my mom. Instead, I saw police tape. I knew before anyone told me. I just knew. And now I'm raising my sisters and brother because the person who was supposed to love my mom decided to kill her instead. I'll never forgive her. And I'll never get my mom back. There's not a dry eye in the room. The defense makes one final push. They call a psychologist to testify about Shakia's mental state. Depression, anxiety, attachment issues. They argue she wasn't in control of her actions, that their relationship was mutually toxic, that both women were trapped in a cycle neither could escape. They try to frame this as a shared tragedy, not a one-sided murder. But the jury isn't buying it, because mental health struggles don't explain the notebook. They don't explain the text messages. They don't explain walking out to the car, retrieving a gun, and coming back inside to shoot someone in the face. That's not a mental health crisis. That's premeditation. The jury deliberates for less than 4 hours. When they return, the courtroom is packed. Cornisha's family sits in the front row. Shakia sits at the defense table, expressionless. The judge asks the foreperson to stand. On the charge of first-degree murder, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of possession of a firearm during commission of a felony, how do you find? Guilty. On the charge of cruelty to children, how do you find? Guilty. Cornisha's family breaks down, relief mixed with grief, because guilty doesn't bring her back. It just means the person who killed her won't get away with it. Shakia doesn't react, doesn't cry, doesn't scream, doesn't collapse, just sits there, like she knew this was coming, like she accepted it the moment she pulled the trigger. 2 weeks later, sentencing. The judge has the option to impose life without parole. Georgia law allows it for malice murder, especially when the evidence shows premeditation. But instead, the judge sentences Shakia Perkins to life in prison with the possibility of parole. She'll be eligible for parole in 30 years, meaning if she lives long enough, if she behaves, if the parole board decides she's rehabilitated, she could walk free one day. Cornisha will still be dead. Her kids will still be without a mother. But Shakia, she gets a chance. Outside the courthouse, Cornisha's sister speaks to reporters. Justice was served in the legal sense, but real justice? Bringing my sister back? That's something the system can never deliver. She's right, because no verdict, no sentence, no amount of prison time will undo what happened on November 16th, 2022. In the weeks following the trial, something unusual happens. Law enforcement officials start speaking publicly about the case, not to defend themselves, but to admit they failed. South Fulton Police Chief Keith Meadows holds a press conference. We did our job. Our officers arrested Shakia Perkins 4 times. We charged her. We filed reports. We built cases. But the courts kept releasing her on bond. And we couldn't stop that. Then Fulton County District Attorney Fonnie Willis speaks out. She doesn't mince words. We opposed bond every single time. We told the judges this woman was dangerous. We presented evidence of escalating violence. We warned them that if she was released, someone was going to die. And they let her out anyway. She pauses. Cornisha Butler is dead because the system didn't take domestic violence seriously enough. And she's not the only one. This happens every day. And it needs to stop. Willis uses Cornisha's case to push for systemic reform. She advocates for the creation of a family justice center in Fulton County, a centralized location where domestic violence victims can access legal aid, counseling, temporary housing, and law enforcement support all under one roof. The goal? To eliminate the bureaucratic barriers that keep victims trapped. To make sure the next Cornisha doesn't have to navigate 12 different agencies just to get help. To ensure that when someone shows up with text messages threatening murder, the system actually does something. Here's the part that'll haunt you. On the day of the murder, hours before she showed up at Cornisha's house, Shakia posted something on Facebook. This new me ain't nothing nice. Yeah, I changed my mindset. Woke up and realized, let the regrets go. God keep changing me for the better. Read that again. Let the regrets go. She's not talking about moving on. She's talking about preparing herself to commit murder without guilt. She announced it, posted it publicly, and nobody stopped her. Because how could they? It's just a Facebook post, just words, until those words become actions. And by then, it's too late. Let's be clear about something. This murder was preventable. Every single piece of the puzzle was visible. The car ramming incident attempted murder with a vehicle, the arson destruction of property, clear escalation, the text messages written confession of intent, the restraining order violations proof she didn't care about consequences. The pattern was undeniable. And yet the system treated each incident as isolated. One judge granted bond after the arson. Another judge granted bond after the threats. Nobody connected the dots. Nobody said, this woman has tried to kill someone with her car, burn their property, and threaten them in writing. She needs to stay locked up. And Cornisha paid the price for that failure. But here's the thing, she's not the only one. Across the country, every single day, women are filing restraining orders, showing police threatening texts, reporting property damage and stalking, and courts are releasing their abusers on bond over and over until one day the abuser makes good on the threats and another family is destroyed. Shakaya Perkins is in prison, serving life with the possibility of parole. She'll spend decades behind bars. But Cornisha's 4 kids, they're serving a life sentence too, one without their mother. Her 2-year-old son is 5 now, still in therapy, still processing what he saw. Her 3 daughters are being raised by extended family, living with the trauma of coming home to police tape and realizing their mom was gone. And somewhere in Georgia right now, another woman is reading threatening texts from her ex, wondering if she should report them, wondering if it'll make a difference. Looking at Cornisha's story and thinking, that won't happen to me. Cornisha thought that too. The district attorney begged the judges to keep Shakia locked up. The police arrested her 4 times in 1 year. Cornisha filed reports, got a restraining order, screenshotted the death threats, did everything you're supposed to do, and she's still dead. If you're watching this without subscribing, you're betting the system will protect you better than it protected her. But history says it won't. The courts admitted they failed. The police admitted they failed. The system admitted it failed. And Cornisha is still gone. Hit subscribe. Because the next case we cover is going to show you that this isn't an isolated failure. This is how the system operates, and you need to know that. Answer this in the comments. Should judges who grant bond to repeat domestic abusers be held legally accountable when that person kills, or is that going too far? Because right now, judges can release dangerous people with 0 consequences, and victims pay the price. Tell me where you stand. Before we talk about warning signs and lessons learned, let's remember something. Cornisha Butler wasn't a statistic. She wasn't just a case number or a headline. She was a daughter who made her mother laugh, a sister who checked in every morning without fail, a friend who showed up when people needed her, and most importantly, she was a mother who would have done anything for her 4 kids. She worked 2 jobs so they could have stability. She moved to a new city so they could have opportunities. She bought a house so they could have safety. Every decision she made was about giving them a life better than the one she had, and she succeeded. Until November 16, 2022, when everything she built was ripped away. Not by an accident, not by illness, but by someone who believed love meant ownership. Cornisha's 4 kids are being raised by extended family now. Her oldest daughter is 17. She's helping raise her younger sisters and brother, taking on responsibilities no teenager should have to carry. She's strong, just like her mother, but strength doesn't erase trauma. She still has nightmares about coming home from school that day, still flinches when she hears sirens, still wonders if she could have done something to stop it. The answer is no, she couldn't have. But survivor's guilt doesn't care about logic. Her 2 younger daughters are in middle school now, trying to navigate adolescence without the one person who was supposed to guide them through it. And her son, he's 5 years old, in therapy twice a week, struggling with what psychologists call traumatic memory fragments. He can't articulate what he saw that day, but his body remembers. Loud noises make him freeze. Raised voices send him into panic. He has nightmares he can't explain. That 2-year-old who stood in the living room watching his mother die, he's carrying that weight, and he'll carry it for the rest of his life. Atlanta didn't forget Cornisha. In the months after her death, the community rallied. Vigils were held across South Fulton. Hundreds of people showed up, many who'd never met her, but felt her story in their bones. Candles were lit, balloons were released, her name was chanted. A memorial fund was established to help support her children's education. Strangers donated thousands of dollars because people understood that this wasn't just Cornisha's tragedy. This was a mirror showing them what happens when the system fails, and it scared them. Because if it could happen to Cornisha, a woman who did everything right, it could happen to anyone. Local domestic violence shelters reported a surge in calls after her death. Women who'd been silent for years suddenly reached out for help. Because Cornisha's story gave them permission to admit they were in danger, her death became a catalyst. Not the one anyone wanted, but the one that forced people to pay attention. Let's talk about the signs. Because Cornisha recognized every single one, and they still couldn't save her. But maybe they can save someone watching this right now. Shakaya questioned everything. Where Cornisha went, who she talked to, why she smiled at someone. That's not love, that's surveillance. If someone in your life treats your independence like a threat, that's a red flag. Shakia slowly pulled Cornisha away from her friends and family, made her feel guilty for spending time with anyone else, made her cancel plans, made her choose. If someone is trying to cut you off from your support system, they're building a cage. It started with arguments, then property damage, then the car ramming, then arson, then murder. Abuse doesn't stay at the same level. It escalates. And once someone crosses the line into physical violence or property destruction, they will go further. Shakia didn't just threaten Cornisha verbally. She put it in writing. You will be dead soon. I'm going for first degree, not second. If someone threatens your life, screenshot it, report it, and assume they mean it. Because Shakia meant it. The notebook in Shakia's car wasn't just creepy, it was proof of obsession. If someone knows your routine better than you do, if they show up places you didn't tell them about, if they're tracking your movements, you're being hunted. Cornisha had a restraining order. Shakia violated it anyway, because people who don't respect boundaries don't respect consequences. If someone violates a restraining order, they're telling you the law won't stop them. Believe them. That's not a romantic movie line. And that's a murder confession. If someone ever says that to you in any form, you're in immediate danger. Leave. Run. Don't look back. Here's what's so devastating about this case. Cornisha did everything society tells victims to do. She called the police 13 times. She filed reports documenting every incident. She got a restraining order legal protection on paper. She screenshotted the threat's evidence for law enforcement. She tried to leave multiple times. She bought a new house, creating physical distance. She built a support system, friends and family who loved her. She worked hard financial independence so she didn't need Shakia. She did everything right, and she still died because the system that's supposed to protect victims only works if the people enforcing it take the danger seriously. And too often they don't. Not until it's too late. Not until another woman is dead and her kids are left without a mother. So what needs to happen? What actually needs to change to prevent the next Cornisha Butler from dying? Courts need to stop looking at each arrest as a separate event. Car ramming plus arson plus threats. A pattern that ends in murder. Bond decisions should reflect cumulative danger, not just the most recent charge. Right now, violating a restraining order often results in a slap on the wrist, a fine, a warning, maybe a night in jail. That's not enough. Violating a restraining order should result in immediate detention until trial. No bond, no second chances, because every violation is proof the person doesn't care about consequences. Defani Willis pushed for a family justice center after Cornisha's death. A place where victims can access legal aid, counseling, housing assistance, and police protection in one location. Because right now, victims have to navigate a dozen agencies just to get help. And by the time they figure out the system, it's often too late. This one's controversial. But if a judge repeatedly grants bond to a violent offender, despite prosecutor warnings, and that person kills, there should be consequences. Not criminal liability, but professional review, public accountability. Because right now, judges can release dangerous people with zero oversight, and victims pay the price. If you're watching this and recognizing yourself in Cornisha's story, listen carefully. You're not overreacting. You're not being dramatic. Your fear is valid, and you need to act now. Step 1, document everything, screenshot texts, save voicemails, take photos of damage, build a file that proves the pattern. Step 2, tell someone you trust, don't keep it secret. Tell a friend, a family member, a coworker. Give them copies of your documentation, because if something happens to you, they'll have evidence. Step 3, file reports every single time. Even if nothing happens, even if they're released. Every report creates a paper trail, and that trail matters in court. Step 4, get a restraining order, but don't rely on it. A restraining order is a legal tool, not a bulletproof vest. Get one, but don't assume it'll protect you. Step 5, create a safety plan. Know where you'll go if you need to leave fast. Pack a bag with essentials and keep it somewhere your abuser can't find. Have cash. Have copies of important documents. Have a plan. Step 6, change your routines. If someone is tracking you, become unpredictable. Change your routes. Change your schedule. Change your patterns. Make yourself harder to find. Step 7, leave when they don't expect it. The most dangerous time in an abusive relationship is when you leave. Don't announce it. Don't give warnings. Plan it. Execute it. Disappear. Because if they know you're leaving, they may decide that if they can't have you, nobody can. And that's when people die. Here's the part nobody wants to admit. Sometimes, even when you do everything right, it's not enough. Cornisha proved that. She called for help 13 times. She got a restraining order. She moved to a new house. She screenshotted the death threats. And she still died because the system is broken. And until it's fixed, women will keep dying. That's not pessimism. That's reality. But reality doesn't mean you give up. It means you fight smarter. You document, you plan, you leave, and you pray that you're one of the ones who makes it out alive. Cornisha Butler's name is now attached to policy discussions across Georgia. Her case is cited in legislative hearings about domestic violence reform. Her story is taught in law enforcement training about recognizing escalation patterns. Her death forced people to confront an uncomfortable truth that restraining orders and police reports aren't enough. The Family Justice Center that DA Funny Willis fought for? It's being built, not fast enough, not in time to save Cornisha, but it's happening. And when it opens, Cornisha's name will be on it. Not as a victim, but as the catalyst who forced the system to change. That's not the legacy she wanted. She wanted to watch her kids grow up. She wanted to host Thanksgiving dinners and celebrate birthdays and grow old in the house she worked so hard to buy. But since she can't have that, at least her death meant something. At least other women might survive because of the reforms her case inspired. So where does that leave us? Shakiyah Perkins is in prison. Cornisha Butler is gone. 4 kids are growing up without their mother. And somewhere in America right now, another woman is lying in bed next to someone who's already decided that if she ever leaves, she won't leave alive. She's scrolling through her phone, reading articles about Cornisha, thinking, that's terrible, but that won't happen to me. She's convincing herself that her situation is different, that her partner isn't that dangerous, that she can handle it. Cornisha thought that too. So here's the question. How many more women have to die before we stop treating domestic violence like a private matter? How many more kids have to grow up without parents before we fix the system? How many more times do we have to hear, we did everything we could from the same people who granted bond to someone who confessed to murder in writing? Because Cornisha Butler did everything right, and she's still dead. If this story shook you good, it should. Because it's not fiction, it's not exaggerated, it's what happens when the system fails. And it happens every single day. If you know someone in an abusive relationship, don't wait for them to ask for help. Check on them. Offer resources. Make a plan with them. If you work in law enforcement or the courts, take threats seriously. Oppose bond when the pattern screams danger. Treat each case like someone's life depends on it. Because it does. And if you're in an abusive relationship yourself, know this. You're not alone. You're not weak. You're not overreacting. And you deserve to be safe. Cornisha Butler, born in Memphis, Tennessee, mother of 4, tax preparer, esthetician, entrepreneur, a woman who fought her way out of struggle and built a life worth living, a woman who laughed loud and loved hard and showed up for the people she cared about, a woman who deserved to grow old. She was 29 years old when she died, shot in the face in the home she worked so hard to buy, in front of her 2-year-old son, while preparing for the first Thanksgiving in her dream house. She deserved better. Her kids deserve better. And we all deserve a system that doesn't wait for women to die before it takes them seriously. Rest in peace, Cornisha. You did everything right, and the system failed you. You've made it to the end. That means you care, or at least you were curious enough to stick around. But here's the thing, caring doesn't help if you don't act. If you learn something from this story, share it. Send it to someone who needs to see it. Post it. Talk about it. Make noise. Because silence is how cases like this keep happening. And if you're still not subscribed after watching a 2-year-old lose his mother in front of his eyes, I want you to do something for me. Go to the comments right now and explain why. Tell me what makes you confident you'll never need to recognize these warning signs. Tell me why you're comfortable scrolling past stories like this without subscribing. I'll read every single one because I'm genuinely curious what makes people think this information isn't worth a free subscription. Go ahead, I'll wait. If you knew someone was being abused and they kept going back to their abuser, would you stop trying to help them? Or is that giving up on someone who needs you most? Be honest, because this is the question Cornisha's friends and family are asking themselves every single day. Drop your answer below. Thanks for watching. If this story affected you, hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, because next week we're covering another case the system ignored until it was too late. And remember, if someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. Because Cornisha believed Shakiyah would change, and it cost her everything. See you in the next story of Hot True Crime. Stay safe.